It was supposed to be a night of elegance. The private lakeside retreat, known as Swanlight Manor, was hosting its annual masquerade gala, an invitation-only event for patrons of the performing arts. Guests in elaborate masks sipped champagne, watched swans glide across the dark water, and awaited the centerpiece of the night, a solo performance by the enigmatic mime, Valentine. Nobody knew his real name. Nobody had ever heard him speak. He was famous for his haunting performances in silence, graceful, tragic, unforgettable. And tonight, he would perform his final act atop a floating platform built into the center of the lake. Under the light of a full moon, the guests gathered along the shore, wrapped in cloaks and curiosity. Eyes drawn to the water where Valentine stood motionless on the raft, a single spotlight illuminating his silver mask. He began to move, gliding through invisible barriers, miming desperation, escape, drowning. The audience applauded, entranced. Then he collapsed. At first, they thought it was part of the act. Valentine had done death scenes before, but this time his body did not rise. The silver mask floated up gently, rocking in the ripples. His hand did not follow. A scream broke the stillness. Few rushed into the water, but by the time they reached him, it was too late. Valentine was dead. Detective Shawn Archer, a young man with a lazy smile and sharp eyes, arrived at the scene an hour later. He wasn't supposed to be on duty. He had come as a guest. Reluctantly dragged along by his childhood friend Rachel Monroe, a journalist with an unhealthy obsession for unsolved murders, standing in soaked shoes at the edge of the crime scene. He was watching the body being lifted onto the dock. Cause of death looks like drowning, the officer on site said. No signs of struggle, no external wounds. We're calling it an accident. Shawn raised an eyebrow. In front of 200 people? You're saying he just tripped and fell and... No way, Rachel said quietly, pointing to the raft. He was already in the water. Shawn followed her gaze. A performer of Valentine's caliber wouldn't lose his balance mid-act. And according to the stagehands, the raft was completely stable, anchored and reinforced. No slippery edges, no loose boards, and the most important part, no one else had touched him. Not a single person had set foot on the raft. The entire act had been performed alone. The crowd, the stage crew, the cameras, none had seen anything suspicious. But something gnawed at Shawn. He turned to the mask, placed carefully on a cloth beside the body. You said the mask floated up before the body? Yes, said Rachel. I saw it myself. It came off after he was underwater. That's the part that bothers me. Shawn knelt next to the mask. It was simple but heavy, made of solid plaster, not plastic. It shouldn't have floated, unless... Back inside the manor, the other guests were being questioned. Rachel compiled a list of people who had interacted with Valentine that day. There was Madeline Thorne, the event organizer. She had hired Valentine for 3 consecutive years. Grant Nichols, the lighting tech, who adjusted the spotlight from the shore. Elise Bennett, a costume designer who had brought Valentine his attire and mask that evening. And Brian Carter, a critic who had publicly lambasted Valentine's last performance and yet showed up here tonight. Start with the costume, Shawn muttered, inspecting the mask again. Elise said she delivered it at 5 p.m., right? Yes, said Rachel. She even adjusted the mask straps herself. Said he didn't speak, just nodded. Convenient, Shawn said. Too convenient? Later that night, after most of the guests had been sent home, Shawn requested Valentine's costume be brought out again. He noticed the inside of the collar was slightly damp, not from the lake water. It smelled faintly metallic. Blood, Rachel whispered. No, something heavier. He looked again at the mask, now floating in a shallow basin for testing. This mask shouldn't float. Unless it was rigged too, filled with air? Maybe? Shawn tapped the base of the mask and felt a slight hollow spot. Carefully, he pried it open. Inside was a hidden balloon, thick plastic, designed to inflate once the mask hit water and warmed slightly. A delayed buoyancy device, he said. Someone wanted it to float after the body sank. A distraction. Rachel's eyes widened. Then the timing was fake. He didn't die during the performance. No, he was already dead before it began.